Folks, but I'm back. Episode 13, Blowing Steam with Dean. What's going on? I'm your host, Dean Ferezza. Sorry for the lapse in fucking podcast, but it's just hard, man. It's hard to try and recap New York baseball every week when there's not really anything else going on. And both teams in New York are just severely underwhelming. It's not something I want to talk about when the Mets are as awful as they are. And the Yankees, despite not having their best player, are keeping afloat, only a game back in the wild card. But it's hard for me to come here every week and talk about baseball when, they're just not playing up to expectations. But we're at the perfect point now. We're at the halfway point. We can recap what's been a brutal first half for the Mets, what's been a decent first half for the Yankees, playing well, despite the fact that their best player has been on the IL now for, I believe, like the past month and a half or so. So let's just get underway. We got a lot to talk about. I got talking about the Mets, talking about the Yankees. We're going to talk about football because football's finally back. Thank God. It's been so fucking long. My favorite sport back. Talking about the Jets and Giants about to start breaking camp next week. And I got some UFC picks for you guys. I've been on fire recently in UFC. On absolute fire in UFC. I went 11-3 last week on the main card. The week before that, on the Sean Strickland card, we went 8-5. We've been profiting every week on UFC, so I got some picks for you guys. UFC 77. Main event this week is Holly Holm versus Maria Bueno Silva. Should be a banger. Holly Holm, now with Nunez gone, probably going to go and get a chance to get the strap here if she wins this fight against Maria Bueno Silva, which I think she will. But I got picks for that whole entire card. We'll give them out to you, and we'll give you out a nice little parlay that I put together. But first things first, let's talk about the New York Mets and the disgusting first half performance that they have put on here so far in the 2023 season. As we stand today, 42-48, 18 and a half games back of the Braves in the NL East. The division was done, honestly, for the Mets in mid-May. They just continue to struggle, and they're not getting the performances out of the guys that they're paying $50 million to be there in Verlander and Scherzer. To this point, Scherzer, I don't think, has had a clutch moment in a New York Mets uniform. Every time the Mets need Scherzer to either stop the bleeding during a losing streak or to maybe even win a series, the guy is just lackluster. He underperforms. To this point, he has not been worth a cent as a New York Met. And he's getting $50 million to go out there every fifth day, which is disgusting. It bothers me to my core because I thought the Mets, with these two guys in the front of the rotation, would be so much better this year. And it's hard to even turn these games on because these guys are knocked out by the fourth or fifth inning because they don't go deep in games. Verlander hasn't been great, He's not getting deep in games every start. His last start before the All-Star break, okay, fine. He finally gave us a 7-inning performance. But before those starts, he was giving us 5, 6-inning performances, scratching by 110 pitches in each outing. Just not what you're paying somebody $50 million to be here for. You're paying a guy to be a fucking ace at $50 million a year. You're paying a guy to come in here, okay, and be a stopper. Guys that are going to stop losing streaks. Guys that are going to fucking give you back-to-back starts at the top of your rotation that you can take a series, game one, game two. You got those guys going. You expect those guys to win those games, and they just haven't been those guys for the Mets so far this year. 18 and a half back in the NL East. The Atlanta Braves are the most ridiculous team in baseball. Every time I watch the Atlanta Braves, okay, I just look at their lineup, guy for guy, compared to the Mets lineup, guy to guy, and it's not even close. Their entire lineup rakes. There's not a single break in the Atlanta Braves lineup. From top to bottom, from Acuna to fucking Eddie Rosario, who plays right field, the whole entire team rakes. Darno rakes, Murphy rakes, Acuna rakes, Riley rakes, Olsen, Ozuna. There's not Albies. There's not a break in that lineup at all. They continuously put pressure on other teams because their offense is so fucking good. I got the Atlanta Braves winning the fucking World Series this year. I don't see how anybody's stopping that lineup. That lineup is just, it's too good. I can easily see them winning it this year. And then the pitching, they pull pitching prospects just out of their ass, one by one after the other. This kid, Bryce Elder, okay? Then they have fucking Spencer Strider with his goofy-ass mustache, who, for some reason, can't pitch against the Mets. Getting back to Strider. Yeah, against every other team in the NL, Spencer Strider is dominant. Bryce Elder, Soroka, who came back from the minor leagues off of injury, he's dealing now. I mean, the Braves are just, they're head and shoulders above the Mets, every other team in the NL East, and they're the best team in the NL, in my opinion. I don't see them losing anytime soon. I don't see them slowing down. They're on another level at this point. So the division was done for the Mets in mid-May because, again, the Mets were just faltering. You know, they were teetering around the 500 mark until about late May, and then they had a horrendous June. I believe the Mets went 6-19 in June, which is disgusting beyond words for a team that has a $364 million payroll to just fall flat in their face. And honestly, I point the blame at Billy Epler because I think he built one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. To this point, the Mets are ranked 22nd in bullpen overall rating. The bullpen, as a cumulative, has a 4.15 ERA. Don't have a guy that really is dominant. You know, we lose Diaz in the World Baseball Classic because Puerto Rico beating fucking the Dominican Republic was the end of the world, and we had to jump up and down like a bunch of fucking assholes in a field in Miami. And yeah, I popped my fucking Achilles or whatever the fuck happened. So great, you know, we lose Diaz. Okay. We had Robertson, which he's been solid. I'm not going to shit on Robertson. But after Robertson, there is fucking nobody in the Mets bullpen. We had to watch Steven Nagosic, who is a fucking nightmare, a disaster. Finally, the Mets released Nagosic a couple of weeks ago. When that guy was in the game, you just knew he was going to have a 4 or 5 run inning every time he was in the game. So, beyond Nagosic, I mean, they have Drew Smith, who's also horrible. Dominic Leone, horrible. TJ McFarland, horrible. Brooks Rally's been okay, I guess. Adam Ottavino needs to retire from baseball. He's just not effective anymore. He throws 94, 95 miles per hour, and it's right down the dick, and no movement, and his off-speed shit just doesn't get it done for him anymore. Ottavino needs to be gone. Bye-bye. See you later. It's just hard. The Mets bullpen has been so fucking bad. And they've been a cause for a lot of the Mets problems this year. You know, starters will go 5-6 innings, scraping by. The bullpen comes in, and it's just a complete shit show. And to this point, I don't know. The Mets should be selling, in my opinion, at the All-Star break. I know it's not Steve Cohen's mentality. I know he's a guy that wants to win. He's put the money, he's invested the money, $364 million, coming off of a 101-win season last year, which ended underwhelmingly. But I don't see the Mets making a run here. I mean, they come back off the All-Star break, right? We face the Dodgers, okay, at home for a 3-game series. How do we think that's going to go? We're going to lose 2 out of 3. Then we play the Chicago White Sox, who haven't been great this year, okay, also at home. I can see the Mets maybe winning that series 2 out of 3. Then they go to Boston. They'll lose 2 out of 3. Then we play the Yankees in the Bronx. We're going to lose 1 out of the 2 in that series. Then they play Washington, and who's to say the Mets are going to sweep the Washington Nationals when they've been so bad all year long? I mean, you're looking at the Mets potentially being, worst case scenario, 10 games under 500 by the trade deadline on July 30th. What are we doing? If we're 10 games under 500 and we're already 18 and a half games out in the division and we're 7 games back in the wild card, we need to sell. Sell everyone. Everyone's for sale. Sell Verlander, because the farm system has nobody. We have nobody. We have no starting pitching, no quality starting pitching in the farm system. The owner came out a couple of weeks ago in his press conference and said as much, that he spent the money on these premium veteran players because he inherited a farm system which is completely depleted. So what a better way to rebuild that depleted farm system than by shipping off these mercenary guys that we paid $50 million to come in here for to be superstars, and they've been lackluster. I don't know. We'll see. I have zero faith in the Mets turning this thing around. And I also haven't even been watching the games because I'm so sick to my stomach about how bad they've been. When they get back to 500, maybe they'll grab my attention. I'll start watching games again. Until they get back to 500, I'm not watching them. I'm not investing my time in watching the Mets. You know, we only have a limited time here on this earth, and I root for so many bad, horrible, disgusting teams. I am no longer wasting my time with the limited amount of time that I have left here, you know, and the years I've lost already watching these fucking loser teams and the aggravation that's taken off of my life. I'm no longer investing my time in teams that fucking suck. That's it. The 2023 Mets, in my mind, are just another one of those Mets teams that are underwhelming and they suck. I'm sorry. It hurts to say. I had the highest expectations for the Mets this year. The highest. It's come crashing, barreling down to earth. They are not a good baseball team. Stop wasting your time watching them. Until they show us otherwise, they are a bad baseball team. So I am no longer going to sit there and invest my time in bad baseball or go to games and watch bad baseball. Sell the team. Get rid of Verlander. Get rid of Scherzer. If somebody wanted to take on Lindor's contract, even though I love Francisco Lindor, and he gets a lot of heat in this town because of the contract that he signed, but then when you look at him in retrospect to other shortstops around the league, he's league leaders in shortstops, in home runs, RBIs, hits. Okay? I love Francisco Lindor. If somebody wants to take on that contract and take him, and we're going to get a haul back in return, God bless. Good luck. See you later. Trade everyone. Marte, ship him off. Somebody can use them. Let the kids play. Bring back up Vientos. Let Beatty play every day. Let Alvarez play every day. Bring up the kid, Mauricio, from the minors. Let them play. Sell these pathetic $364 million losers that are on this roster. Because I'm no longer watching. Prove me wrong. Sweep this weekend, which I highly doubt. Sweep this weekend. Get closer to 500. Maybe I'll start watching again. Until then, I'm sold on the Mets in 2023. They're done. 7 games back in the wild card. The teams in front of them in the wild card are severely better head to toe than them, I think. You know, they're competing in the wild card with the likes of the Miami Marlins, who have lights out young pitching. They have one of the best hitter in baseball in Arias. That Jorge Soler is back to his 50 home run form, which he was at 2 years ago. The Arizona Diamondbacks, who also young pitching. Zach Gallen, stud. Corbin Carroll, a stud. They're young guys carrying the way. And the San Francisco Giants, who have a great all-around team. Better than the Mets, I think. I don't see us catching these teams. And then that's just the top 3. The teams that are fighting 4 and 5 to get back in. Milwaukee, better than the Mets. The Phillies, better than the Mets. The Padres, heads and toes better than the Mets. And they're not even competing for a wild card yet. 2023, stick a fork in them. The Mets are done. The Mets are done. Try again next year. It's the same old Mets. Even though the owner tries to put the money into the team, the Mets stink. They stink. Going to the other side of town in the BX, the Yankees are holding it together without their best player in Aaron Judge. It's impressive. They're 49 and 42. They're 8 games back in their division. They're a game back in the wild card. But let's be real here. The Yankees division is one of the more ridiculous divisions of baseball. The Tampa Bay Rays, 58 and 35. Baltimore, 54 and 35. Toronto, 50 and 41. The Yankees are 49 and 42, and the worst team in the league in their division, the Red Sox, are 5 games above 500. This division is loaded. And without their best player in Aaron Judge, the Yankees are a game back in the wild card. Reason being, their bullpen, unlike the Mets, very fucking good. Very good. Canely, 2 ERA. King, 2 ERA. Holmes, 2 ERA. Mariciano, 2.5 ERA. When their starters come out of the games, their bullpen locks it down. They've been getting quality starting pitching. Herman with the perfect game a couple weeks ago. He's been looking like the best pitcher on the Yankees recently. His stuff has been electric. Cole, solid, stud. The only problem with the Yankees is that, honestly, they need their guys in their lineup to wake up. Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton, you need to wake up, guy. You got to wake up. You're a former league MVP. A former league MVP, and you're batting .240. That's not what the Yankees are paying your contract to do, buddy. We need you to crush 30 home runs. We need to hit 100 RBIs, and we need to fucking get that average up to 270, 280. Enough. He's been so inconsistent since he's gotten here to New York. And people don't really ride him as much. I don't know why. I think it's because he's been so injury prone that he's not really been in the lineup. But to this point, he's batting .203. He's played 41 games. He's batting .203. The slugging's at .426. This guy needs to wake up. Stanton needs to wake up. Volpe having an underwhelming first season as a Yankee. .216 average. .287 on base percentage. This guy was looked at as the next Jeter. Lackluster. Not performing up to the standard that Yankee fans were holding this guy to. Josh Donaldson, I don't know how he's still on the roster. Batting .152, a .232 on base percentage. He stinks. He stinks. I don't know what Cashman is holding on to. I know that the money's already in, he's dropping $25 million on the contract this year, so it probably kills him to just DFA the guy. But he is fucking horrible, and they run this guy out there every single day. Enough with Josh Donaldson. Stinks. DJ LeMahieu, batting .220, 285 on base. I think LeMahieu's been hurt. He's playing tough this year. He's played 76 games to this point, but he's still battling an injury. He's just not right at the plate. I mean, I'm looking at the roster right now, and out of guys who are currently healthy on the roster, the best average on the team is Harrison Bader at 257. The Yankees lineup just needs to wake up. And I don't know when Judge is coming back. I don't know what the word is, when they're expecting him to come back. But they desperately need to get Judge back. Even though they've been holding their head above water up until this point, they need Aaron Judge back. They get Judge back. They maybe make this move for Ohtani. That's been the word. That came out yesterday. Buster Olney from ESPN reporting that the Yankees are going to be in on Ohtani this offseason and possibly at the trade deadline. So I ask you this, Yankee fans. Do you give everybody away for Ohtani? Because I would. Let me tell you. I would trade Beatty. I would trade Alvarez. I would trade Mauricio. I would trade Vientos. I would trade whoever if it means we're getting Shohei Ohtani. Do you send Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera, King, and Holmes to Anaheim for the guy that is the most polarizing figure in all of baseball? I would. Shohei Ohtani takes that lineup to the next level, and that pitching staff even further. Because you haven't been getting much contributions past Cole and Herman at this point. Rondon just coming back from injury, threw well the other night. Clark Schmidt, underwhelming. Luis Severino been horrific. Ever since he's gotten that extension, it's been actually been one of the worst signings the Cashman's had in a long time. Even though at the time it seemed like a bargain, Severino has been awful. 1-4, 7.38 ERA. He's done. Just hasn't looked good at all this year. 62 innings. Correction. 42 innings pitched, 7.38 ERA, not good. 1.8 whip, not good. Clark Schmidt, 4-6, 4.40 ERA, not good. Not good. You think they can use Shohei Ohtani? So that way in the playoffs you can run out there Cole, Rodon, Herman, and Ohtani? Yeah, I would. Whatever's necessary. I don't know. Do I think the Yankees are going to make that move? I got to be honest. I have zero faith in Brian Cashman doing anything like that. I don't see him mortgaging the future to get Ohtani. I think they'll wait until the offseason. They'll try to get him on a flyer at whatever amount that they can. I don't think they're going to be the highest bidder either. You know, I don't think they're coming in above the Mets. I don't think they're coming above the Dodgers and the other teams that are going to be in on him, the Padres possibly. I just don't see it. The Yankees haven't spent money like that. I'm not buying the only headline from yesterday. I'm just not there. I'm not sold on it. I would love to see the Yankees make the move because I think it instantly makes the Yankees World Series contenders. At this point, they're not World Series contenders. They'll make the playoffs. I don't think they're getting very far, but they'll make the playoffs. That's what the Yankees have been. They have the past couple of years. They haven't been these barn burner World Series contending teams. They've been consistent, though. They've been in the playoffs. Ohtani takes them over the hump. Do I see Cashman making the move? No. Should they make the move? Yes. We'll see. Trade deadline's 2 weeks away. We'll see what happens. The Yankees should be buyers, in my opinion. The Mets should be sellers. And we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. Moving on to the sport that most people really care about. You know, baseball's lackluster. Most people aren't really watching baseball, but I know what most people are watching every Sunday at fucking 1 o'clock during the months of September to February. They're watching football. So let's move on to the Jets and the Quinnen Williams re-signing, which I thought would be very important because this whole thing with Hard Knocks, and I just saw, like in 2010 when the Jets were on Hard Knocks, the drama that was going to be the Quinnen Williams holdout, and, you know, on every episode of Hard Knocks, it was, when is Revis coming in? You know, oh, they're going to meet Revis at a diner. When is this signing going to happen? And then they're asking the players, and it just was all drama. It was drama, the Revis drama. So I thought the same thing 13 years later would be the Quinnen Williams drama. Oh, Quinnen Williams is not in camp, holding out, waiting for a contract. When are they going to get Quinnen in the building? And blah, 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 blah. The dramatic selling point for HBO to just continue talking about the Quinnen Williams absence at camp. Joe Douglas, to this point, one of my favorite executives ever for any of my teams, goes in, gets the deal done. Probably was thinking the same thing that most Jet fans were thinking. We're not going to have this drama in camp, and we're not going to repeat 2010 Hard Knocks with the dramatics. Locks up Quinnen Williams, 6 years, $96 million, $66 million guaranteed. Quinnen Williams is the best defensive lineman in football. Period. If you watch the tape of Quinnen Williams and the things that he does from the nose tackle position, he's the most disruptive player on the field for the Jets. Every time he's on the field, he's taking on double teams, and not only is he taking on double teams, he's beating double teams, putting pressure on the quarterback. He's putting himself in gaps where there's nowhere for a running back to even go while getting double teamed. He's disruptive. He gets his hand in the passing lanes. He is the best defensive lineman in football, and it's not talked about because he plays for the New York Jets. And the Jets have been nothing but underwhelming since he's been there, but he is the best D lineman in football. If you watch Jet games, he sticks out instantly. He's disruptive from play 1 to play 66 on defense, and he's always on the field. The guy's an animal. That deal gets done, that gets locked up. So, okay, no drama for the Jets coming into camp. Strictly fucking business. Strictly business. If you're not fired up as a Jets fan for this season, I don't know what I have to do. I'll take a firecracker, I'll put it in your asshole, and I'll light it so you can get fired up. The Jets are saying all the right things going into camp, and they're doing all the right things. I watched Breece Hall's interview the other day on NFL Network. They were talking to Breece Hall. They were like, what's going to make the Jets so dangerous? You know what his answer was? We have an answer for everything. And you know what? They do. Last year, weak point, starting quarterback. Okay? Jets won 8 games with 3 different starting quarterbacks last year. One of them being Zach Wilson, who, if I throw left-handed on a fucking football field, I complete more passes than Zach Wilson last year. Okay? What do? They go out, they get Aaron Rodgers. 3-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl winner. I don't have to give you the accolades. You know who Aaron Rodgers is. Okay? Aaron Rodgers reports to OTAs. It's strictly fucking business. This guy's not here to fucking nurture the underwhelming rookie quarterback in Wilson and try to make this guy better. No. We're not doing any of that. We're here to win ball games. And he's got everybody bought in. They're bought in. The wide receiver group is very good, very talented. Lazard, Wilson, McCole Hardman, Randall Cobb, and Denzel Mims. Those are 5 very good, very talented wide receivers. The tight end group is stacked. Conklin, Uzomah, and the kid that they drafted from Ohio State, Ruckert. Ruckert is going to be a big-time player this year, by the way. This is going to be the year of Ruckert. Mark my words. Last year was like a development year for him. He sat behind Uzomah. He sat behind Conklin. He learned how to be a tight end in the NFL. He's going to have a huge season for the Jets this year. Book it. He's going to be the Robert Tonyan out of nowhere tight end that was playing with Rodgers in Green Bay. That's going to be Ruckert this year. Tight end group stacked. The running back room is very good. Breece Hall should be back for week 1. Michael Carter, the kid that they drafted from Pitt, who I think is going to be a stud. They got a former MVP at quarterback. Their defense was already top 3 in the league. They're all back. If you're not fired up for the Jets, I don't know what to tell you at this point. You should be bought in. This is the first time in about 10 years where you should be bought in. And I get it. I am the biggest skeptic about the Jets every year. But this year, and hearing the things that are coming out of the Jets camp, from the coaches, from the players, from the general manager, this team, the 2023 Jets, this team's going to do something. Buy in. I can't fucking wait. The other team in East Rutherford, the New York Giants. Daniel Jones gets locked up to the big deal. Okay? Giants, limited cap space. They bring in Darren Waller, which I think will be a great fucking asset to Daniel Jones this year. A guy that can blow the top off the defense at the tight end position. There's no safety in the league. There's no linebacker that can guard that guy. When that guy's healthy, he's the best. He's one of the best tight ends of football. Hands down. He is an absolute threat. But this whole Saquon Barkley situation is starting to get interesting. I don't know what's going on. I know the Giants have the limited cap room, but they got to work this deal out before camp starts. Barkley's got to be in camp. He is a dynamic player, and he is when he's in the offense, okay, and he's touching the ball 25, 30 times a game, the chances for the Giants to win games improves drastically. The Giants without Saquon Barkley, on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know how good they're going to be. I think Jones took a step forward last year, and towards the end of the year when Barkley's legs weren't underneath him as much, okay, I thought Jones took the load of the offense on his shoulders. That being said, the threat of Saquon Barkley is what makes Jones be able to take the step forward. The threat of the run game, the threat of him getting the ball out of the backfield, even when he's not at 100%, he takes away the pressure from Daniel Jones. I don't know what the Giants are going to be without Saquon Barkley. The Giants are playing a very dangerous game. Because if Saquon Barkley is not in camp, okay, and then we go through camp, no deal's done. I know that in 3 or 4 days he has to sign this, he has to decide whether he's going to sign this franchise tag or not. They tagged him. He's not happy about it. He's got until Monday at 4 o'clock, I believe, to sign the tag. I don't think he does. And then at that point, what are the Giants going to do? You got to get this guy in the building. He's too important. He's also a leader in the locker room. Don't think other guys aren't observing the way that Saquon Barkley's being treated. Joe Shane needs to get this deal done. It's got to happen. Barkley has to be in uniform. This can't be a holdout situation. There's no way. There's no way. The Giants already took the step. They're there. Year 2 now. They're only going to get better. But playing this game with Saquon Barkley and whether they're going to bring him back or not, foolish in my opinion. Foolish. Get the deal done. Get the guy in camp and let's go. They already built the culture. The winning culture's already there. Stop playing games. Get the deal done with Barkley. Start camp on the right foot. No drama. And roll into the season with that fucking fantastic defense. The QB who took the next step, the step to the next level last year. One of the best running backs in football, one of the best tight ends in football, an improved wide receiver group. Go and do it. Stop playing fucking games. Foolish at this point. Get the deal done. Get this guy in the fucking building and let's go. UFC Vegas 77 this Saturday. Prelim start at 6 o'clock. Main event is at 10. Main event is Holly Holm versus Maria Bueno Silva. The thought behind this fight is that the winner of this fight will get a shot at the strap that's now been vacated since Nunez is no longer there. I like Holly Holm in this fight. She's fought competition twice the level of Bueno Silva before. She has electric hands. I know she's older now, but I don't see Silva being able to keep up on the feet with Holm. And Holm has great grappling defense. Silva's a great grappler. So at this point, it's going to be hard for Silva to get anything going. Taking Holm to the mat. Holm the better striker. We're going to take Holly Holm in the main event. The co-main event, Jack Della Maddalena, holy shit, what a tongue twister, versus Basil Hafez. Pretty straightforward. Della Maddalena is legit. He deserves to face the top talent in the fucking UFC. Unfortunately, he's not getting that. He's getting short notice fights. And he's just trouncing guys when he fights these guys. I got Maddalena by TKO. Basil Hafez, from what I know, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. He's a grappler. I don't know. Maddalena runs over everybody that the UFC puts in front of him. So I'm going to take Jack Maddalena by TKO. Another good fight on this card, Albert Duraev versus Park Jong-young. Duraev, to this point, I believe is the better striker, better all-around fighter. We're going to take Duraev to win by decision. I believe. I don't think there's going to be a knockout in this fight. I don't see it. Norma Dumont versus Chelsea Chandler. I think I'm going to take Chandler here. I'm not really sure. I can go either way on this fight. Chandler seems to be the better striker. Both girls inconsistent to this point. At this point in their UFC careers. But I'm going to take Chelsea Chandler to get it done. Chandler, a submission artist too. Fuck it. Let's take Chandler by submission. I like it. I don't know what the odds are, but I like it. We'll take Chandler by submission. Fight after that, Ottoman Azader versus Francisco Prado. Over the last 3 years, this is all you really need to know. Over the last 5 years, Azader has fought 3 times. Ring rust is a thing. If you're not getting in the cage frequently and you're not training frequently, it's hard to fight sporadically and win at this level in the UFC. So Prado, a young prospect, aggressive, athletic. I see Prado winning by knockout. Round 1, round 2. We're going to get a knockout in this fight. Francisco Prado by TKO. The fight after that, Terrence McKinney, who I love, versus Nazim Sadikov. This could be potentially fight of the night candidate right here. This fight could be a banger. McKinney, athletic, quick on the feet, also a great grappler. This fight could go either way, but I think McKinney could get it done because of his wrestling ability and is able to submit guys. I like Terrence McKinney by submission. We can take it in submission round 1 if you want, or we can take it by submission for the fight. I like Terrence McKinney to get this whole thing done. Tucker Lutz versus Melsakai Bagdasarian. Bagdasarian's just one of these guys that he'll wrestle for 15 minutes. He's nonstop. He's relentless. He'll take guys to the ground. I think he's just going to grind out one of those old school Russian fucking wrestling wins where he's on top of a guy for fucking 10 minutes of control time, just grinding one away. We're going to take Bagdasarian by decision. Fight after that is Victoria Dudakova versus Estelle Nunez. I don't know how Nunez is still on the UFC roster to this point. She has yet to record a win in 3 of her appearances on the UFC. This will probably be her last appearance in the UFC, in my opinion. I think Dudakova gets the job done by TKO in this fight. Nunez can't stop takedowns, and I just see Dudakova getting on top of this girl and just beating her up. So we're going to take Dudakova by TKO. And likely the last fight we'll ever see is Estelle Nunez in the UFC. Fight after that, Austin Lingo versus Melquizael Costa. Lingo, he walks forward, he swings hard. He does it in every fight. That being said, Costa's the more athletic fighter. He's more dynamic. He has better cardio. I see Lingo probably tiring out at some point in this fight. Early. He doesn't really have the gas tank. I'm going to take Costa by decision. And it's an interesting fight, but I'm going to take Costa by decision. Fight after that, Gennaro Valdez versus Evan Elder. We're going to go with Elder here. I think Elder, he has a chin. He's been rocked in fights, and he continues to come forward. I I'm not really impressed with Genaro Valdez so far. So I'm going to go with Evan Elder by decision. The next fight, I hate this pick because I really am a fan of Tyson Nam, but he's turning 40 very soon. Azat Maxim is 16-0 to this point. The kid's like an absolute razor. I don't like this matchup for Tyson Nam. I have a fear that this could be Tyson Nam's last UFC fight because I don't think he's going to come out on top here. He may retire after this fight. I'm taking Maxim by TKO. It's just not a good matchup for Tyson Nam. It's really not. And it's a shame because Nam's a UFC veteran. He's been a great fighter for the UFC. You know, he goes out there, he puts on a good show every time he's in the ring, but it's just not a good matchup for him. Not a good matchup at all. Maxim by TKO. Carl Deaton versus Alex Munoz. Both guys kind of need a win. They've been off to rough starts so far in the UFC. This is one of these fights where I think the loser probably is off of the UFC roster. I'm going to go with Munoz because he's the wrestler. He's the better grappler. And in a fight where I don't feel comfortable picking either guy, I'll go with the guy who has the skill set he can fall back on that he could potentially get the win. So I'm going to go with Munoz to win by decision. And the early prelim fight, the first fight of the night, is Ashley Evans Smith versus Aylin Perez. Not sure how Evan Smith is still on the UFC roster, got to be honest. She's lost 4 out of her last 5 fights. Her lone victory in the UFC came 5 years ago. Perez is, not great, but she isn't lacking aggression. She puts on a good pace in her fights. She'll probably outvolume Evan Smith and win by a 30-27 decision. So I'm going to go with Perez to win over Ashley Evans Smith. So just a quick recap for you guys, okay? Starting from the top in the main event, we're going with Holly Holm over Maria Bueno Silva. In the fight, in the co-main event, we're going Jack Della Maddalena versus, Jack Della Maddalena TKO versus Basil Hafez. In the Duraev versus Yan fight, I'm taking Duraev to win by decision. Norma Dumont versus Chelsea Chandler, I'm taking Chandler to win via decision. Ottoman Azader versus Francisco Prado, I'm taking Prado to win by TKO. Terrence McKinney versus Nazim Sadikov, I'm taking McKinney to win by submission. Tucker Lutz versus Bagdasarian, I'm taking Bagdasarian to win by TKO. Stella Nunez versus Victoria Dudakova, I'm taking Dudakova to win by decision or TKO. You can go either way there. Austin Lingo versus Ezekiel Costa, I'm taking Costa to win by decision. Genaro Valdez versus Evan Elder, we're taking Elder to win by decision. Nam versus Maxim, I'm taking Maxim to win by TKO. Deaton versus Munoz, I'm taking Munoz to win by decision. And Evan Smith versus Perez, I'm taking Perez to win by decision. Hopefully we have a good day on the UFC side. Like I said, UFC's been hot for me recently. Let's make some money. I'll be back again next week, hopefully to talk about some training camp news with the Mets, with the Giants and Jets. We'll see what's going on with the Mets after the weekend series with the Dodgers. The Yankees this weekend are playing host. Not playing host. They're out in Colorado. Maybe they can get right this year and get a couple wins. I'll be back with episode 14 next week. Until then, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Finished?
Yeah.
You good now? I can peek my head in here? Yo, bro, why is it so hot in this?